Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live. Somebody, let's go.
Good morning. Good afternoon and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. We got some breaking news. Oh, my Lord. Breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. Oh, my Lord. Man, does the news cycle just keep on coming. Wake up, y'all. Come on in. We got a conversation. We got to have a conversation about this. And this one is a wild one, too. Can't believe it. Well, yes and no. I'll explain in a little bit. I promise. But before we get into everything, please do me a favor. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms, okay, make sure you hit that reaction button. But also, hit that follow button. If you're watching on Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, follow. That'd be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe here on my main channel, right here on the YouTubes. Go to my secondary channel. I just posted a video just a little bit ago on the second channel, the Pascal Show clips. Go over there. Please go take a look at that video. Some new updates in another situation, another case that we're talking about and covering over here as well. So please go and do that. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, set it to all on both channels so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random and a lot of times it's breaking news just like this right here. This is a big deal, very big deal, okay? So anyway, hit that join button down below, become a member, check out my Patreon, check out my locals, and of course, check out pascalmerch.com. Okay, guys, we got some really great stuff over there, pascalmerch.com, baby. Okay. All righty then. Okay, guys, we got to talk about this. This is breaking news. Breaking right now as we speak. Okay. We have comedian, podcaster, talk show host, I guess, political commentator, Russell Brand has now been charged with R, got to use these code words, and SA. But what's also very interesting about this whole situation, he is being charged 4 different counts by 4 different women. So let me tell you, this is absolutely insane in my personal opinion, okay? This is some shocking information, but I want to remind you guys, this ain't his first rodeo. He's been alleged or accused of doing some other things in the past. A few years ago, we talked about this, okay? A few years ago, we talked about this. I don't remember how long ago it was. Maybe it was a year ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago. But nonetheless, he was accused of doing some very, very bad things to a bunch of different people as well. A bunch of different girls as well. Some, if my memory serves me correctly, some were not of age, if you get what I'm saying. And of course, others were. But nonetheless, he's being alleged by 4 different women of allegedly R-ing and S-ing them between the years, and these are 4 different women. So between the years of 1999 to 2005. So within a 6-year span, roughly, within a 6-year span, he allegedly put his hands on women and took advantage of them. Now, what's very wild about these claims, he has to show up in court in May. He has to be in the UK to represent himself or to have representation in the UK, showing up in court to fight these claims. Now, the question is going to be, is he going to do it, right? Is he going to show up and try to fight and show proof positive that, hey, is he going to show proof positive and say, hey, man, I had nothing to do with these things. These are false claims, etc. Now, he has been accused of things in the past, and every time he has vehemently denied claims of any type of wrongdoing in relationships that he had in the past. That's one thing for sure. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this, okay, is that there have been a lot of people that have been out here talking, saying things. People have been speaking out saying, oh, yeah, I'm a victim too, me too, so on and so forth. He has said himself, I have nothing to do with that. That's wrong. That's wrong, and it's false allegations. But you got to remember, we just have to throw this on the table, okay? We have to. Because if you don't know Russell Brand's past, we're going to talk about it. And here's the thing. He has been absolutely 110% very candid and very honest for what we know about his past. I mean, he's written a book about it, if I'm correct. A lot of his stand-up back in the day was about his addictions and his rock star lifestyle. That's what I was trying to say. The rock star lifestyle that he had back then. Okay. And then, he had he enjoyed his wildish ways, sowing his wild oats with copious amounts of substances and women and maybe men. I don't know. Okay. But nonetheless, he's talked about his swashbuckling ways. Okay. He was quite the scallywag, for lack of a better term. So what are the chances of him being laid out, okay, under the influence of multiple different types of substances that maybe he doesn't remember him being in some substance-induced state of mind where he did some things, right? Now, again, those are just questions that I ask because he says that he had quite the wild lifestyle, right? He has been openly very candid about those things. Okay. Now, could this be him talking about how he had a wild life back in the day, coming back to bite him in the ass? Maybe it is. Maybe that's what it is here. Maybe this is the situation where he was having, going wild, doing the rock star, I can't say it for some reason, the rock star lifestyle. And now people are taking advantage of the fact that he had that rock star lifestyle. And they're trying to say, you don't remember me because you were so messed up, but this is what you did to me. That's possible. It's either he really did these things while he was in these, let's just use this for lack of a better term, a drunken stupor, or these are people who are just trying to take advantage of a situation and are trying to scoop a bag. Now, let me just be completely candid with you, too. Russell Brand is making a crap ton of money online. A crap ton, okay? He is a conservative voice, okay? He is a voice in the conservative political spectrum, okay? He has garnered hundreds of millions of views, subscribers, followers, all that stuff. He is making crazy amounts of money on Rumble right now as we speak. Now, some people think that he panders, that he's a grifter, that he, noticed that, okay, if I, to make money is to go to the conservative side and say that you found Jesus. That's really what some people think of Russell Brand. But nonetheless, he is making quite the coin going online and just talking about things that are going on in the world in his own perspective, right? So he's doing okay. He may not be doing movies. He may not be doing stand-up like he used to be, but he's doing just fine, okay? He's doing just fine financially. So could this be a situation where they're getting an opportunity to try to destroy a man who has found sobriety, okay? Has found sobriety and is trying to found his voice, okay? And found his audience. Could it be somebody who's trying to take advantage of that situation? I don't know, okay? I don't know. But then at the same time, this is 1999. We're in 2025. 1999, between 1999 and 2005. We're going to get into articles and stuff here in a second, but let's talk about this really quick. And I guess this is a question that I asked to you guys. And of course, I don't mean this in any disrespectful way, but I feel like this is going to be the question that a lot of people are going to be asking for a while now, which is, could you actually file a lawsuit on on a crime that somebody allegedly did 25 to 30 years ago? I feel like this is the same thing that goes back to when we talked about the Bill Cosby case. Shoot, we are even talking about that with the diddler right now. We are most definitely talking about that with the diddler right now as we speak. So again, the question I leave up to you guys is 25 to 30 years later, does that still stand? I mean, if the person did that crime, should they definitely still pay the time? Or that's the right phrase, right? If you do the crime, you pay the time, right? Something like that. So should they still pay the time? Even 20 to 30 years later, 40 years later, 50 years later. Let's not forget Cosby, okay? Remember him? Okay. He was well into not being able to see, not to damting. Glaucoma. Which is a nice little reminder for everybody to go get your eyes checked. All right. But he's damn near going blind. The man is old. Okay. He's so old. How old is he though? He going blind in his damn 80s. Okay. Getting to, he getting older than Abraham. Okay. So again, still he was getting hit with lawsuits, fighting in a courtroom that he probably couldn't even see. All right. Because he was that old. When he speaks, dust comes out his mouth. That's how old he is. He just dry. He drying up. Decades later, okay, he was still fighting. And of course, we already know what happened with Bill Cosby. So again, I look at this and I say, hey, this is 1999, 2005. 1999 to 2005, this whole thing goes down. All right. Between those times, these 4 women are stepping forward. And this is not the only 4 women. There's more women that have stepped out. Okay. Now, a couple years ago, a year ago or so, I'm going to have to look it up. Speaking on what he did to them. And I think in the 2000s. Okay. But nonetheless, I keep wondering, does that still hold weight? I personally think, in my personal opinion, okay, if you did the crime, you most definitely got to pay the time. That's what I truly believe. Okay, I get it. There are some places where it's the statute of limitations and all that. And I don't know what it is overseas in the UK. I don't know what the statute of limitations are over there. But nonetheless, if you do a crime and that person musters up enough courage to step forward and get your ass, oh, you definitely need to pay the time. Period. Especially if they have smoking gun evidence. It all comes down to that. Smoking gun evidence. You got to be holding on to that piece of clothing or to that photo or that video or whatever damning evidence you have. You have got to have it, because at the end of the day, it turns into he said, she said. It turns into hearsay. And then it turns into, does this person have enough to really take this person down? Here's the other thing too. He's actually getting charged. Sorry, I got to hit the dun-dun-dun again. Sorry. He's actually getting charged as well. Let's not forget that too. He's getting charged. This is not a civil lawsuit. Oh, no. He's getting charged. That's a massive difference. So I keep wondering, what exactly do they have that could really take this man down? Because this is not good. As I like to say, it's no bueno. Cabrón, it's no bueno. It's not good at all. It's not good at all. But like I said, these are some questions that I have for you guys as we start to dive into this thing. Okay, like Trey Songz. Well, he's not the best person to quote either because he's been in a whirlwind of trouble himself. But dive in. Okay, we're gonna jump into this and talk about this whole thing. All right, but he is being charged with S.A. and R, guys. And again, I got to use a lot of code words. Just ride with me. Deal with it, okay? Just deal with it, because that's just how it is. All right. If I got families to feed and stuff, man. Okay, so be understanding. But please do me a favor. This helps this channel. It helps the show. Hit the like button. Hit the like. Please and thank you. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe. And here's what's interesting about this is that once again, he's going to have to step out and speak out and say that he has nothing to do with this or admit the truth. But I also, I have to say this. I got to, because this is just it. There's truth to this. And there are fake actors out there. Let me just say that. There are plenty of people out here that lie. Plenty. We're starting to see that slowly but surely with the Diddy case, right? With Diddy's accusers. And I don't think that all of them that are stepping forward are liars. I'm just saying I think that there have been a few of them that have stepped out that are not telling the truth. And that is just what is expected. Now we live in a world where that is just expected, that there are going to be people stepping out, talking and saying things just for some money. Real talk, for financial gain, and that's it, right? Now, one thing is for sure. When it comes to him, yeah, he has a very, very checkered past. Like I said, he was quite the scallywag. We all knew that. If you knew anything about Russell Brand in the past, you know that for sure. But one thing that really sucks is that if any of these things, if all of this, let me just say that, if all of this is fake and not true, this is what's tragic about somebody's name, especially when it comes to a man's brand. And I don't mean that because his last name is Brand. But still, this is a very sad thing, because as soon as you put S.A. or R on a person, like what happened with Jay-Z, so far, he is innocent so far. Okay? I know the court of public opinion thinks otherwise, but what's so sad about it is that there are allegations that come out like this, and what happens? It turns into a scarlet letter, branded, forever stamped on that person's forehead. As soon as somebody says, such and such ard me, it's on them for life. It doesn't even matter if they've shown proof positive that they're 110% innocent. They got smoking gun evidence, like we went to dinner, we hung out, I never touched her, dropped her off at her door. You see the footage right here. I'm innocent. Even after all of that, there's still going to be people that are going to hang on to that fact that he or that person was charged or accused of R-ing or S-ing somebody. That's what's so sad about this. And especially somebody like Russell Brand, who has a name, who has monies. There are people out here that will try to lie because they see the brand already tattooed, branded on the person's forehead. So they go, oh, no, this is a great opportunity to scoop up some money now. Even after that person's been exonerated, it'll still forever be a lingering rumor hanging over their head like a dark, rainy cloud for the rest of their days. It's the same thing that's what's happening with Jay-Z. And now we're seeing that even Beyonce is getting caught up in the mix of this thing now too. You see what I'm saying? Now then other people are getting hit with it and getting stuck with being branded the same just for being guilty by association. So those are things that we, unfortunately, this is the world that we live in. These are things that we have to remember and keep in the back of our mind. Of course, we have to think independently and critically for ourselves. We most definitely do. We can't forget that. And we come up with our own conclusion. But at the same time, it is really tragic because you can have some, let's just say it's Jeff Bezos. Okay? Jeff Bezos. I'm not saying he's accused of anything. I'm just using his name for an example. Say somebody, because he's clearly very much happily in love. He's about to get married in Italy, if I'm correct. How do I know this stuff? I do not know, but moving on. We know that this guy is getting married. He's happy. Say somebody walks out of the clear blue sky and says, he SA'd, R'd me, whatever you want to say. Instantly, even if he shows proof positive, like the date that she says, this accuser says that I did X, Y, and Z on this date, I was with my fiance, in Romania. That's not good either. But I was in Paris with my fiance on that date. There's no way I could physically be in Paris and over here at the same time. But instantly people will sit there and say, well, that shows proof positive. That's a lie. Maybe he has other smoking gun evidence to show proof positive that it was not him. It was another bald white guy, but it wasn't him, right? Doesn't matter. As soon as he's exonerated, there's still going to be people out there going, you see him with his body's heat. You know what I mean? There's still going to be somebody out there that believes that he is still an aura. And then months later, you're going to have somebody else possibly file. So this could very well be that same situation. Or Russell Brand is very, very naughty boy. And he's been out here giving women some things that they're not okay with. And he's getting exactly what he rightfully deserves. But unfortunately, we have to put those things into our minds. Now, we can't just immediately believe all victims all the time, because there's sometimes, not all the time, preferably never, but nowadays we live in a time where it does happen, where we have people who do not tell the truth. So again, if this is actually happening, and this is what Russell Brand really did, he in some serious trouble. Serious trouble. But again, until we find out everything, anything's possible. So let's take a look at this. It's a sad thing, guys. It's a sad thing, but Russell Brand could have very well done these things. Real talk. But then again, now we live in a world where he may not have done this at all. It's a crazy world we live in, guys. But let's take a look at this article. All right. Let's take a look at this. All right. Hey, yeah, Ricky Lynn. Yeah, man. He was in there. He was in it. What was he? He was in like Flynn, whatever that phrase is. All right. He was out here. Notorious for kicking it. Party animal, right? And then some. Okay, so he's being charged with R and SA. Okay, so British comedian and actor Russell Brand has been charged with R and SA. Britain Crown's prosecution service said Friday, today. So Russell Brand was charged with 2 counts of R, indecent A. We got to use these code words, okay? 2 counts of SA. This is what the chief Crown prosecutor for London North said on Friday. These relate to reported non-recent offenses between 1999 and 2005 involving 4 different women. Brand has previously denied these allegations, saying that all of his relationships have been consensual. And we're going to look at that video here in a second. He says the lead detective, okay, in the situation. The women who have made reports continue to receive support from specially trained officers, and this is what the detective superintendent Furphy from the Metropolitan PD said in a separate statement. He added that the investigation remained open and detectives were asking, quote unquote, anyone who has been affected by this case or anyone who has any information to come forward and speak with police. The charges come after detectives began investigating in September 2023 after the Sunday Times newspaper and British broadcaster Channel 4 reported allegations that Brand had SA'd and emotionally aid for women. Now, let me say that again. Remember, this happened a few years ago. We talked about it, and a lot of y'all, there was a good portion of y'all that were very much in your fifis. Okay, and I get it. People appreciate Russell Brand's voice and what he talks about and what he covers. Definitely in the conservative spectrum. All right, but hey, if he did it, he did it, right? So again, the charges come after detectives began investigating in September 2023. The Sunday Times newspaper. Okay, so after the Sunday Times newspaper and British broadcaster Channel 4 reported allegations that Brand had SA'd and emotionally aid 4 different women. Okay, so he is accused of RSA and emotional A by 4 women. One of them, here it is. So it's the same women. Okay, these same women that stepped forward and spoke out before, now they are filing these charges. So one of them said she was 16. So that's the age of consent in the UK. And Brand was only 30 when they began a relationship that included A and SA. In the video posted to his social media accounts before the publication of the allegations and the Channel 4 program titled Russell Brand in Plain Sight, the comedian turned wellness influencer has denied what he called, quote unquote, very serious allegations. Yeah, he's like, hello, Russell Brand here. Very serious allegations, right? Brand was once married to pop star Katy Perry, has since deepened his involvement with the popular culture of the political right wing, appearing last September on the stage with Tucker Carlson during the media personalities live tour. He has also converted to Christianity in the recent years and was spotted at the Republican National Convention in July. Brand will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court in London on May 2nd. Now, of course, this is a story that's still ongoing and developing, but again, these are all very, very not so great allegations coming back to bite them right in the booty. Okay. So.
4 women are accusing actor and comedian Russell Brand of rape, sexual assault, and abuse. And these allegations come from a joint investigation by British news outlets, the Sunday Times, the Times of London, and Channel 4 dispatches. And London police are looking into those claims, urging the accusers to speak to authorities. Brand denies these accusations, saying all of his relationships have been consensual.
Again, you look back. Okay. I guess the other argument is if you lived a wild life, the same kind of wild life that Russell Brand allegedly lived, and did, how would he know that everything was 100% consensual? I'm just saying. I'm just asking the question, right? I feel like that's going to be a question that will be posed and spoken about when it comes to covering and talking about this particular case, because every case is different. Every case is unique in its own way. But I feel like that's one question I'm sure people are going to be asking, right? It's like, well, if you were in a drunken stupor or high as hell, how are you going to know all of it was 110% consensual if you were 110% just gone the entire time? You know what I mean? But I feel like that's something that people just talk about. That will be an ongoing argument for a long time, I'm sure.
NBC News correspondent Liz Croyce joins us now live. Liz, it's good to see you this Monday. We should note first and foremost that NBC has not yet independently confirmed any of those allegations. But tell us what these women are saying specifically, and how is Brand responding right now to all this?
Yeah. Hey, Morgan. So, right, 4 women have come forward as part of this investigation. One of those women, who they're calling Alice as a pseudonym, she says this happened to her when she was 16 years old. She entered into some kind of relationship with him while Brand was 31. And she says, even though that was the youngest age, or is the youngest age for consent in the UK, that Brand pressured her into performing sexual acts, that at one point she even had to physically push him off her to get him off, and punch him in the stomach. She says that he referred to her as the child and had a car that would come and pick her up from school and take her out of classes and bring her to his home.
Now, again, I don't know if you guys remember this, but we read these allegations in the past. I'm going to try to find them so we can look at them again. But again, quite the age gap there. That's quite the age gap. We can agree on that for sure. And then also at the same time, it'd be a different, I know we live in a time where it's like, if he's in his 50s and she's in her 30s, that's okay. Does that make sense? But 30 and then you haven't even hit your 20s yet? Diggity damn. Okay, that's a dip. That's quite the dip. Okay. That's quite the dip in age. Okay, quite the gap in age.
Now, another woman is accusing him of rape at his home in LA. Another woman says she was sexually assaulted by him when they worked together in LA. And another woman says that he exposed himself in front of her when they worked together in the early 2000s. And they say much of this happened at the height of his fame between 2006 and 2013. Now, Brand, for his part, released a preemptive video before the investigation came out. He posted a video on social media to his millions of followers where he denies the allegations. He said, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that, almost too transparent. He goes on to say, to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny. And it makes me question, is there another agenda at play? So
again, it's like, what is the agenda then, my brother? I mean, aside from making it possibly they're lying and they want to make some money. But what's the agenda, right? They just want to destroy a conservative voice, and that's it. But there's so many other huge conservative names. You got to understand. We just talked about Tucker Carlson, right? So let's talk about that for a second. He's a massive conservative voice out here. Where's his allegations? For example, you know what I mean? Maybe they're coming. I don't know. But you'd think that all these other conservative names, conservative voices out here in the political world would be getting way more destruction before Russell Brand. And so it does make you wonder if there's something more. I get the question if there's some sort of agenda at play, but I don't know about all that. Okay, I don't know about. You know what I mean? That's just me. These allegations could very well just be straight up lies for a bag, or they could very well be what really happened to these women. And we have to err on that side until there's proof showing otherwise, right? Or lack of proof that shows otherwise. You see what I'm saying? But let's continue on. Very interesting. We're going to look at his video. We watched it 2 years ago. Okay. But we are going to watch it again here too. Cause he's been talking about these things. He's been talking, even so he has a video that he put out a year ago. So it was about a year ago. So he put out a video a year ago, and then 2 months ago, he talked about some things as well, about allegations and stuff. So he knows, he knows that these things are popping off. He knows that these things are going on right now, which is very interesting.
He's accusing the media of a conspiracy to silence him here. NBC has reached out for comment. We've not heard back, and he has not responded further to the actual specific allegations in the investigation, Morgan.
And Liz, just very briefly, I know there's this distinction between the potential legal ramifications, but also the social ones. He's already faced some sort of backlash, his talent agency dropping him. Anything else that's happened just in the last 24 hours?
Oh, snap. I'm sorry. Yo, he got Baldoni'd. Sorry. He got kicked out of, he got fired from his, I'm gonna repeat that. He got fired from his own agency, y'all. That's big. I'm sorry, that's big. You know, that's big. Because this happened a year ago. Agency still stuck with him. And now, in the last 24 hours, he lost his representation, his talent representation. Wow, y'all.
Briefly, I know there's this distinction between the potential legal ramifications, but also the social ones. He's already faced some sort of backlash, his talent agency dropping him. Anything else that's happened just in the last 24 hours?
That's big.
Yeah, so his talent agencies dropped him, and we have just gotten word within the past couple of hours that the production company putting on his upcoming live comedy shows, they have now postponed or canceled those shows, Morgan.
Damn. I mean, is this grounds for defamation? I could see him doing a defamation lawsuit because now it's digging into his monies. But still, whoo-wee, him losing his gigs, him losing his representation that's big, guys. Okay, instead of them being like, we're just gonna let it work out and see how it unfolds in court, they're instantly saying, nope, we got to let you go, man. We can't represent you anymore. And all of his stand-up shows or his tours that he has coming up, those things are being postponed as well. That is a very, very big deal. Deborah, thank you so much for the love. I appreciate the super chat. Burden of proof in the UK is high. CPS don't charge R lightly. 4 counts mean they have something. Oh, my damn. He's in trouble. If what Deborah's saying is true, because like I said, to charge R and S, to charge him with these things, it's not now just allegations. Okay, well, I mean, they're allegations, but he is now getting charged with this thing. You see what I'm saying? That's a massive difference in comparison to just being alleged of doing something civilly. Okay, now they're saying, yo, you got to show up to court because you are getting charged with doing these things. You're getting charged. That's massive. That's massive. But I want to share with you guys, take a little trip down memory lane. Okay. Look at this video where he talked about the allegations a year ago. Hold on. And it's a video entitled, sorry, my computer's acting slow for some reason, but it's a video entitled, So This Is Happening. So this is happening.
Awakening Wonders. Now, this isn't the usual type of video we make on this channel where we critique, attack, and undermine the news in all its corruption, because in this story, I am the news. I've received 2 extremely disturbing letters, or a letter and an email, one from a mainstream media TV company, one from a newspaper. Litany of extremely egregious and aggressive, as well as some pretty stupid stuff like my community festival should be stopped, that I shouldn't be able to attack mainstream media narratives on this channel. But amidst this litany of astonishing, rather baroque attacks are some very serious allegations that I absolutely refute. These allegations pertain to the time when I was working in the mainstream, when I was in the newspapers all the time, when I was in the movies. And as I've written about extensively in my books, I was very, very promiscuous. Now, during that time of promiscuity, the relationships I had were absolutely always consensual. I was always transparent about that then, almost too transparent. And I'm being transparent about it now as well. And to see that transparency metastasized into something criminal that I absolutely deny makes me question, is there another agenda at play? particularly when we've seen coordinated media attacks before, like with Joe Rogan, when he dared to take a medicine that the mainstream media didn't approve of. And we saw a spate of headlines from media outlets across the world using the same language. I'm aware that you guys have been saying in the comments for a while, watch out, Russell, they're coming for you, you're getting too close to the truth. Russell Brand did not kill himself. I know that a year ago there was a spate of articles, Russell Brand's a conspiracy theorist, Russell Brand's right wing. I'm aware of news media making phone calls, sending letters to people I know for ages and ages, being clear, or at least feels to me like there's a serious and concerted agenda to control these kind of spaces and these kind of voices. And I'm
okay. We're going to play a little bit more, or the rest of it. But again, this, like I said, this is just very interesting. Okay. A year ago, it was one thing. Now we're looking at charges. He's looking at criminal charges. Okay. It is full steam ahead on trying to put him behind bars, trying to find him guilty of doing some things. Now, again, I ask you guys, is he telling, is he lying or is he telling the truth? Do you think the victims are not victims or not? This is a very interesting situation. Okay. And apparently he's in America right now. Like he's in America right now as we speak for God knows what, I don't know. But then he's supposed to be going back to the UK in a month from now, literally just a little bit less than a month from now, to go fight out in court these allegations. So again, it's interesting because, a year ago when this came out, we didn't really, we talked about it and then it just kind of it just died out, right? And now it's full steam ahead. Everything's going, right? Interesting, guys. Interesting. You know what? I'm going to do a poll. I'm going to let me play the rest of this. I'm going to do a poll. Okay.
My voice along with your voice. I don't mind them using my books and my stand-up to talk about my promiscuous consensual conduct in the past. What I seriously refute are these very, very serious criminal allegations. Also, it's worth mentioning that there are witnesses whose evidence directly contradicts the narratives that these two mainstream media outlets are trying to construct, apparently in what seems to me to be a coordinated attack. Now, I don't want to get into this any further because of the serious nature of the allegations, but I feel like I'm being attacked, and plainly they are working very closely together. We are obviously going to look into this matter because it's very, very serious. In the meantime, I want you to stay close, stay awake, but more important than any of that, if you can, please stay free.
Okay. So he says, stay awake. So he says, stay woke. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this, again, I put a poll up. Let me know your thoughts. I know there's a lot of people. Okay. Can't answer your poll without hearing everything. I get what you're saying, Wicked West. And that's fair. That is fair. But it's just knee-jerk reaction, right? It's knee-jerk reaction. Do you believe it? Do you not believe? Do you think this is all a bunch of, horse manure? Or do you think this is absolutely, 110% the truth? Again, I will say this. There's multiple layers to this situation. Also, if they do have enough evidence, if they do have something for it to go forward in a trial, it's not good. It's not looking good for Russell. I will also say this. There's situations where things can be chopped up and screwed. Yes, I said it. Certain text messages that could be read in different ways. Voicemails, maybe. Emails. Any type of documents can be chopped up and screwed in some sort of way, right? Like I said, we have to leave everything on the table because we have yet to have seen any smoking gun evidence thus far. We have allegations, we have stories, we have accounts that have been written in articles and in documentaries, little specials by UK's Channel 4 and all that stuff. But we have yet to see anything outside of that to say, oh, that smoking gun evidence, he most definitely did that. Oh, he did that. We have yet to see that so far. But here's another thing that's very interesting. Okay. He put up a video 2 months ago. He put up another video 2 months ago. We got to take a look at this. All right. This is called Let's Talk About This. And it's all about the allegations. Allegedly. I'm going to play some of it. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but we're going to play some of it.
I know that for years, my promiscuity was exploitative. As a famous rich dude, sleeping around, having sex in bathrooms, sleeping with multiple people at once, using the fact that I had massive access to having sex with strangers and was doing it, that's pretty crazy and excessive. And there's no question that that is sinful, broken behavior that hurts people. And I beg for forgiveness, and I'm given forgiveness, and I beg for salvation.
He's right off the bat saying, yep, okay, you got me. You got me, guys. I've been out here. I've been promiscuous. I have been a scallywag. I've been out here with my dirty, swashbuckling ways. He's saying it. And then he's saying, oh, but they're trying to take advantage of the fact that I just banged a lot. Gave a lot of girls a good seeing too. Come on now. I'm just saying. But now he's saying, as Jay Cause just said, this is a coordinated attack. I don't know. Like I said, I'd like to know more proof. I want to hear more proof, or I want to see, more proof, right? But like I said, if the courts are going forward with this, he's going to have it's going to be a doozy of a time for him. But let's continue. He started off saying that, like, hey, I've had a history. I know I have a history of being a bad boy, running around and just, sticking my weed whacker in anything that moves, so on and so forth, right? Because back in the day, he was crazy. We all knew that. That's what made him Russell Brand. But now, you see him. He's softened his ways. You know what I mean? He's slowed down. He has found the Jesus. Okay? He has found faith in everything, right? But at the end of the day, what you did in the past could come back and bite you in the boohooty.
But what happened in this weird liminal space is that behavior got metastasized and reformed retrospectively into criminal conduct by competing media companies, working with groups like Logically and Crisp, working with legacy media companies, collaborate in an unprecedented way in order to go back to, for years and years, talk to people like, if you've got a story about Russell Brand, what about that? Well, other people have bravely come forward. What if we shift that? What if we shift this a little bit? What if we tweak that? Now it goes from, instead of being a heel and a fool and greedy, and and in some aspects of the culture, a playboy, a womanizer, a gadabout, a player. It was reformed into, no, this guy's not like all those other famous womanizers that we know are out there, that sometimes have to put out injunctions, that sometimes have to pay lawyers a lot of money to keep stories quiet. No, you're in this different category here, all of a sudden, of the most appalling criminals known. All the while in my country now, there's this explosion that there are actual grooming gangs that are raping and abusing little girls and young women at an almost institutional and inconceivable level. And it appears that the media and government have repressed and ignored those stories for reasons that I find difficult to understand, but the sort of a loose way of describing it is multiculturalism. Now, in that, Michael Schellenberger, how is it that I, as an individual, say, hey, listen, it was wrong that I was a womanizer like that. I don't think I'm in a discrete category away from lots of other womanizers. So I hope you're going to get to their investigation sometime down the line. I've got a list of names of other people you might want to look at for womanizing. Not that I'm a telltale. But more importantly, what are we going to do about the morality? If indeed it is sinful and wrong to sleep around like that, what are we going to do about, like, firstly, the massive criminal, exploitative, evil grooming gangs? Let's get to that. The extraordinary number of people in politics that seem to have weird connections to paedophilia or various circuits, groups and rings, whether that's around Epstein or people in Hollywood and Diddy. And that's not just people in Hollywood. What do we do about that?
Hold on. We got to slow this down for a second because he is very heated. Okay. He clearly is. I mean, let's be real. Somebody just said, somebody said Joy Catcher said he's a lot, LOL. I mean, he clearly is very upset. I mean, that goes without saying. He is most definitely upset. Okay. But like I said before, you know, I don't know. I feel like there's certain people that are just good at spinning. I'm not sitting here. Well, I'm just going to say it anyway. F it. All right. Some people are just really good at spinning or trying to spin it to something else. So this is exactly for the last almost 3 minutes. He's been saying certain things and he's like, well, what about this? What about that? What about this too? You know, what about all these other people? Why are you looking at me? Look at all these other Hollywood elites that are even there, that are worse than me, that no one's even batting an eye at. They're all paying their lawyers to stifle or to quiet down these stories and blah, blah, blah. He's pointing out at everybody else, right? He's like, I'm going to put cases on everybody in this room except me, right? Exactly. It's deflection. Instead of being like, yo, and maybe he gets to it later on in this video, which I'm sure he does. And I get that he's ranting because he's mad. He's upset, right? He's not happy about this situation, being accused of these things. Or maybe he's really scared because he knows that he did what he did. Anything's mother-loving possible at this point. You feel me? Okay. I don't have the answer. Like I said, I don't know if he's innocent and I don't know if he's guilty. All I know is that these allegations are very real and he has a lot of explaining to do when he goes into court on May 2nd. That's going to be a very interesting time for him. I'm sure he's been doing everything that he can to fight. He's been trying to do everything he can to fight his innocence by going onto his platforms and saying what he's saying. But at the same time, you know, it's also coming to terms on things that he may have done, right? He's coming to terms on certain things. He does say, yeah, you know, I was a womanizer. Yeah, I did this, and this. I was not perfect. I was a bad boy. I had a lot of relations with a lot of people. But does that make me, you know, in our word, does that make me someone who goes around and does that stuff? You know what I mean? That's going to be interesting. Well, Elgato, good question. I don't think that they do in-camera court, like cameras in court in the UK, so I doubt it. But whenever there's new updates revolving around the case, the trial, absolutely, I will be covering this for sure. Oh, yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. There's no way I cannot not cover this because I want to see what ends up happening, right? If he's exonerated, or you also got to remember from this time until May, these accusers could bow out. I doubt that they will because obviously there's enough evidence, I'm sure, for the courts in the UK to be like, no, we're pressing forward, you know? But at the same time, you know, you can see how upset he is. So this will be very interesting to see what happens in the near future, especially revolving around his case. Again, I don't know. I don't think he's innocent. I don't think he's guilty. I'm sitting right on the fence because I want to see more proof. I want to see more evidence. And of course, I want to see what the courts show. And I want to see it play out in court, right? And if he did this, you know? So we will find out in court.
How do I personally handle it? And what does it tell us about our shifting culture? These tectonic plates that have moved around and the people that get caught in the cogs when a culture suddenly decides of course, I'm going to mention that it happened not when I was, all over the media every day in Hollywood on talk shows, introducing movies, blah, 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 and actually sleeping with loads of women. It happened when I started to talk about Moderna, Pfizer, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, right, and exploitation and manipulation at the highest level.
Okay, now he's done talking. Now, here's the thing. All of that, okay, here it is. I get what he's saying, but all of that could be coincidence. I'm sorry, I got to say it. That can all be coincidence. That could all be coincidence. You realize that even still talking about these things, let's be real. there's not much of a big reaction to that stuff anymore. Let's be real. We don't talk about the vid like we used to back in the day. We don't talk about the pokes and all that stuff like we used to anymore, because it's all been either proven, unearthed, etc. So by the time he started getting hit with these lawsuits, all of those things of him talking about the certain big pharmas and all that stuff, all that was a thing of the past. Those things were starting to die out. No one gave a damn about those things. So again, if they really were trying to destroy him, why weren't they destroying him or going after him with these lawsuits during the time at the height of him talking about those things? You see what I'm saying? And I'm sure he's still talking about these things, right, on his channel and talking about big pharma and talking about all this stuff. I'm sure he's still doing that, right? But at the same time, come on now. Come on. These lawsuits would have been out here because he got kicked off his platform. He got kicked off of this main platform and everything. That's why he went over to Rumble, because he was talking about these particular things that YouTube was not okay with him talking about. Okay. And so he said, F it. I'm going over here to Rumble. Talk about the poke. You know that. He was doing all that over there. So again, if he was talking about certain things and putting things out there at the height of everything, to the point where he got kicked off platforms, why wasn't there lawsuits and criminal charges being hit on over his head back then? It's happening now. We're in 2025, baby. It's 2025. So again, I look at that and I go, really? The timing? You're a little offbeat. Just a little bit offbeat. Just saying. But let's continue. Let's hear what else he got to say. Doesn't mean that he's guilty. Doesn't mean that he's innocent either. I'm just stating something that's very true. Okay? And then, of course, let's not forget this too. There are other people, like huge conservative voices in the game, also were talking about these exact same things as well. Where is the breakdown, right? Where is the attack on those particular prominent conservative voices out there? Where's the destruction on their names as well? That's all I'm saying. There's plenty of other people on this side of the pond that are huge names in the conservative sphere that are not getting accused of certain things like this. Okay? So again, I don't know. Let's continue though.
Yeah, I'm sure it was just a coincidence that it happened then. I mean, I think the grooming gangs is such a great example and such a great contrast, because obviously, yeah, the system was, and the Telegraph was so good in its coverage. It just said this was multiculturalism was used as a way to sweep this under the rug. And obviously you transgressed the corporate agenda of the blob, and that's why they went after you. If you were just out there doing yoga lessons.
Oh, and let me correct somebody. Millie, I just said that. I even said that the video that we first watched was from a year ago when the allegations first dropped. I said it right off the bat, just so you know. Okay. And yes, he's been sober for a very, very long time. Just so you guys know, that is not a new, the first one where I said that, so this is happening. That video we watched a year ago when these allegations first dropped. And he knew that he was going to be hit with these allegations. That's why he did the video way before the actual, I think he dropped that video a day before the news or mainstream media took it and ran with it as well. Okay. Just so you guys know. And yes, he's been sober for a very, very long time. He found Jesus and all that stuff. So let's continue on.
There's no way they would have gone after you in that way. I don't think anybody could deny that at this point. But I mean, it's crazy, because it seems like that was kind of the power of the media to do that has been significantly reduced now by the takeover of X and the rise of Tucker. I mean, there was sort of, these attacks, are sort of the last gasp of a dying media. I mean, Washington Post, like, Like nobody reads it anymore. It's going under. The British newspapers are doing better, but no, I think your point is very well taken, Russell. And I hope you become a crusader against the grooming gangs, because it's definitely a cause. It clearly needed some leadership that it didn't have.
You know what? I agree with whoever this guy is. I don't know who this guy is, with all due respect. So don't come at me. Don't get mad at me, because I don't know who the guy on the right side of the screen is. But at the same time, he said something I do agree with. Okay. Aside from all of this, okay, I agree with him on the part of, hey, I hope you become an advocate for taking these other rings or other types of epi type of people down. These Diddy people, all that stuff. You're getting hit with all this, okay? You're funny, Grace. You're funny. But still, Schellenberger? Okay, I don't know who that is. Honestly, I do not know. Oh, he's a journalist. Thank you so much for letting me know. Don't know. But with all due respect, I just, it is what it is. Moving on, though, he's sitting here and he's saying, hey, I hope you become an advocate. I hope you become a fighter for those people that are out there, all right, that are victims. You fight for the victims. You fight for the kids. Anything for the kids, right? I agree with that 100%. So if he comes out of this situation exonerated, unscathed, yeah, damn it, I hope he does. I hope he does. We'll see what happens as the world turns.
The big lie is that nationalism is the same as fascism or the same as totalitarianism. What Hannah Arendt teaches us is that nationalism is a barrier to totalitarianism. Totalitarianism wants to destroy all relationships that people have except for the one between the people and the state, between the people and the party and the state, which are one and the same. And so what nationalism gets you, like in healthy friendships, in healthy relationships, romantic, platonic, you want your friend to be their own person, to be a strong person, to have their own sense of identity, to have an interiority that is strong enough to match yours. You don't want them becoming like you. You don't want them trying to make you like them. You want them to have that. So when I think about Britain, I have a very similar reaction that Elon has with Britain, which is that I care about Britain. I also care about Brazil. It's not even I wouldn't say I care about all countries equally, but certainly Britain, we're all in the tradition of the British Enlightenment and this incredible British liberal democratic tradition. So when I look at the grooming gangs, there's two things going on there. One is this just unspeakable cruelty and predation on vulnerable people, but it also reminds me of this really important insight by the scholars of civilization who say when civilization breaks down, it's when the elite, what they call the creative class of the bourgeoisie, the creative class of people that are really running the country, it's when they stop identifying with their own working class and their own people, and they start to identify with the elites in other countries, and then make an alliance as well with the poor and working class of other countries, who then get imported to undermine the national fabric. So look, I'm a big supporter of immigration. America's a country built on it. That's part of what makes us special, is we're really good at integrating that. But you have to maintain your national culture. You have to maintain your national traditions. And I think that this is where, we've been talking, I think, a little bit about what is the relationship between a kind of political agenda, coalition, etc., and what is your spiritual commitment. I do think that there is a kind, I would call it spiritual, if you don't want to use that word, you could say ideological, you could say consciousness, that you need a strong national consciousness in order to be a strong and healthy country. Why? Precisely so you can protect your most vulnerable girls and boys from predators. I mean, part of the issue in Britain, and you probably understand this much better than I do, I just observe it from traveling there increasingly, is that there's just, the United States is much more egalitarian. We're much more like, like if you go to Britain and you're like a university professor, they treat you so much better than they do. They kind of think, they treat it like, the United States is like, I don't care, I'm an electrician, you're a university professor, you know better than me. And that's what's so great about the United States. But there is that, the British, I think some of that snobbery and that elitism led them to ignore the predation of often these vulnerable girls were poor and working class. A lot of them are, they didn't have a parent in the home. I mean, it's very similar to the kids that are preyed upon for sex trafficking or by the priests. And so why do you need nationalism? It's so that you protect all of your citizens. And it's not to say that you sort of overlook the the abuses of your citizens. It's really more like you have a common ethic and code, but it is so striking that multiculturalism, I mean, this was very clear in the Telegraph's coverage of the Green Gangs. Multiculturalism was the ideological cover for all of this horrible abuse. And so I kind of go, I hope that Britain revives its own national commitment, because I do think that's necessary for Britain to be a strong independent ally of the United States, and for it to protect its own citizens, and for us to continue this process of maintaining this incredible liberal democratic civilization that allows us to be different individuals and not be subject to really awful confining totalitarian moralities.
And Barra days from the
Okay. And I think this is just advertisement on pills and whatnot. So again, and I just found out who this guy is. Let me pull this up and tell you who he is. I didn't know who he was, to be completely honest. But Michael Schellenberger is an American author and journalist who writes a wide range of topics, including free speech, homelessness, and the environment. So he is the first endowed professor at the University of Austin, served as the CBR chair of politics, censorship, and free speech. He also founded the online paper or newsletter Public. So that's very, very interesting. And again, seems like a fairly intelligent individual. But one of the main things that I like that he said, before it went over to other topics, is what Schellenberger said to Russell Brand. Hey, we want to, regardless of what happens here, if you are exonerated, if you are found not guilty of doing said things, be an advocate, be a fighter for the people that be a fighter be a fighter for the voiceless, right? Be out there and try to help those that are really in need, not the other way around, right? So again, I second that emotion as well. Instead of just being, oh yeah, I've learned my ways, or whatever the hell it is, right? And just moving on and continue securing the bag. No, turn this negative into a positive for those who are actually in need. If you're going to sit there and say, what about all these guys? What about all these guys? Unearth them mother lovers then, dagnabbit. You see what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Everybody enjoys being in their own personal ivory tower, overlooking the world, and just, making their money and just sitting in their caves. I get it. I fully get it. But at the same time, if you are being accused of said thing, and then you're saying, what about all these other mother lovers that are worse and should be getting hit with more with worse allegations and worse charges than me, man, this is the time to speak out. Then this is the time to start unearthing those people. You're going ham on vaccinations and stuff. Why aren't you going? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to go ham on the poke and on what your thoughts are on big pharma and all that stuff, right? If you're going to do that, then hey, that same energy, why not bring it over to a place where people really need that too? There's a lot of kids out there. There's a lot of victims out there too, and also potential victims. So why not unearth all of those mother lovers as well, right? Tear up that floorboard, show all the nasty rodents and roaches and filth underneath that floorboard that's being protected by who? By God knows who. And then, of course, don't be found suspended in the bathroom. That's all I'm saying. Because there's been a lot of stories about what happened to rock stars, like the singer from Linkin Park and the other guy, I forgot his name, Chris Cornell, for example. All of them sitting there going, oh, yeah, they were working on this big project to unearth a huge ring. And then they both just passed away in similar ways. So then, it's like, okay, just protect yourself. You see what I'm saying? So in my mind, I'm like, hey, use this opportunity to, as you're talking about all these people, hey, these are all episodes you could be having on your show. And for a fact, everybody and their mama is going to want to watch those shows because everyone loves seeing the bad guy go down, period, point blank. And especially if you're unearthing those people and destroying those people and exposing them for the monsters that they truly are, you're doing God's work right there. That's what I think. Real talk. So again, something like this is just these allegations are very interesting. These allegations are very interesting. From
thanks to Steve McDonald. We will talk to Michelle Fleury, our correspondent in New York, very shortly. But I want to bring you some breaking news that we just had from the Metropolitan Police here in the UK. The actor and comedian Russell Brand has been charged this afternoon in connection with the following offences: 1 count of rape, 1 count of indecent assault, 1 count of oral rape, 2 counts of sexual assault. Detectives say they began investigating Brand in September 2023 after receiving a number of allegations, which followed the reporting by the Channel 4 Dispatches programme and the Sunday Times. The Met Police say it's alleged that in 1999, a woman was raped in the Bournemouth area. In 2001, a woman was indecently assaulted in the Westminster area of London. In 2004, a woman was orally raped and sexually assaulted in the Westminster area of London. And between 2004 and 2005, a woman was sexually assaulted in the Westminster area of London. He will appear at Westminster Magistrates Court on Friday, the 2nd of May. We've had a statement from the Detective Superintendent Andy Furtfy from the Metropolitan Police, who is leading that investigation. He said the women who've made reports continue to receive support from specially trained officers. The Met's investigation remains open, and detectives ask anyone who's been affected by this case or anyone who has any information to come forward and speak with police.
Again, I mean, woo, baby. Jeez Louise. That's all. Sheesh. That is some stuff. Those allegations are real. Okay. Those allegations are real, and he's getting charged for sure. I'm going to end this poll here, though. Let me see what it says here. So out of 289 votes, 60% of you do not believe Russell Brand. Wow. 60% of y'all do not believe it. Do not believe Russell Brand, believe that these allegations are to be true. That's crazy. But like I said, these things happened almost 30 years ago. So again, that goes on to be the question of, hey, is there something, does that still apply to this day? But then on top of that, given it was decades ago. And the other part of it is what information, what evidence do they have that is absolutely true? Now, from what I gathered, there were text messages that were exchanged between one of the victims and Russell Brand. Allegedly, he was, apologizing for, for his wrongdoings, right? In fact, let me see if I can find that right quick. Yeah, if I can find that. Let's take a look at this. So it's just a quick trip down memory lane, okay? So again, we already know about Russell Brand getting hit with all this. If you don't know, then you clicked on the wrong video, right? But anyway, the woman using the pseudonym Nadia spoke out in an interview with the Times and provided the paper with notes and records from a R treatment center and months of therapy as part of a years-long investigation into Brand with Channel 4 News. Let's see. He spent the last decade telling the world not to trust mainstream media, not to trust the mainstream media industry, blah, blah, blah. She claims she met the comedian in 2012 in Los Angeles. Brand, then 37, kissed her at an after party and began texting her. They had, consensual relations in June of 2012 at Brand's house in Hollywood. She told the Times, adding that later Brand messaged her to bring a friend, adding, "I feel like I require a little chaos." Nadia told the newspaper the next time she saw Brand in July, he attacked her. He R'd her. "I was out late and he happened to call me and say, 'I've had a really bad day. Please come over,' she said. And at first I said, 'No, I'm not going. It's late.' And he was like, 'Please come. Just come and cuddle with me.' So then I gave in. And I'm like, okay." She alleges that when she arrived, Brand emerged from the bedroom in his birthday suit and began kissing her, which was kind of fun. And then it wasn't that fun when I couldn't move or I knew what he wanted from me at that point. He pushed me up against the wall, blah, blah, blah. She tried to get away. This is stuff that we've already talked about before. But she tried to get away from him, moved to another wall, but he followed her. At this point, he was grabbing at her underpants, pulling it to the side. I'm telling him to get off of me, and he won't get off. She claims that he R'd her without a rubber. Okay, she couldn't move, and she only thought about, how am I going to get out of here alive, basically, at 3:29 a.m. Now, this is not, from my understanding, this is not one of the women alleging SA and R, because this happened in 2012, but this is still one of the women that was accusing him of things. And if these text messages are true, then there's a possibility that he was having an exchange of text messages with these other women, and they could be used in court, right? So again, so she says, I don't know how I'm going to get out of here. So she, I guess she allowed him, she let him do what he did, right? So that she can get out of there. So then at 3:29 a.m., Brand sent Nadia a text message. "I'm sorry, that was crazy and selfish. I hope you can forgive me. I know that you're a lovely person." I guess kisses, like X kisses, hugs and kisses, I guess. He tried phoning her at 3:51 a.m., but the call went unanswered. The Times said it had verified the number sending the text messages with multiple sources. So they made sure, they cross-referenced, and they made sure that phone number that was sending those text messages was indeed, without a shadow of a doubt, Russell Brand's. Later that day, Nadia describes being taken by a friend to a R treatment center at UCLA's Santa Monica Medical Center. A decade on, she decided to speak out after learning of the Times investigation into Russell Brand's alleged against multiple women. Now, we already know that he's denied these allegations, but there's a possibility that he could have sent text messages to these women, sent out video, photos, voicemails, etc., apologizing for doing God knows what. That's a possibility. Because like I said, I'm wondering what is the hard evidence, right? What is the hard evidence? And with these allegations, could he be a sexual predator? Could he? I don't know. Anything's possible, right? But I guess we're only going to find out as time goes on. Again, what say you guys? What are your thoughts on this? Do you believe the victims? Do you believe that this is just one big coordinated attack against Russell Brand? I leave that question up to you guys. But we have to remember, he lived a very wild life. He lived a very wild life until he sobered up and he put his P word in his pants and found God. So, of course, that is a question that still remains to be answered. Were these allegations true? Or are these 4 women? And apparently there's multiple women, because we're just reading one from a woman who is using a fake name by the name of Nadia. And she says that she was AR'd by him in America in 2012. Okay. And then he went on to send her text messages saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I please forgive me. That was very crazy and selfish. I know you're a lovely person." Right. And he's calling her incessantly, trying to apologize to her. Why? Because he may have done what he did. And he may have known that he did something that she was not okay with, which is very bad. And again, is it because of the substances that were in his system at that time? Or was he sober as a judge? That's a question I think we're all going to have to ask Russell Brand and see how it all plays out in court. But that is the show, guys. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Really means a lot. Real talk. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. Again, innocent till proven guilty, guys. Innocent till proven guilty. So we'll see how it plays out in court. I'm sure there's going to be more information that's going to be dropping when it comes to this whole situation. It is pretty wild. I get it. There's a whole lot of pro team Brand out there. I get it. Let's just see how everything pans out. Innocent till proven guilty, guys. But please, before you head out, do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. That would be really appreciated. Hit that reaction button. Hit that follow button if you're watching on any of my other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble. That'd be greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe here on my main channel. Oh, go over to my second channel. There's some new stuff. If you're following the Blake Lively thing, please go over to secondary channel. Check it out. All right. I just put out a video right before I went live on here. This was breaking, so I wanted to hop on it quickly and give you guys this story and give you guys the new updates on this particular case. So if you guys can, please go over there and check out the video. It's on the second channel. That'd be greatly appreciated. Anyway, hit that subscribe button on the secondary channel. Okay, it's called The Pascal Show Clips. Go subscribe over there. That'd be greatly appreciated. All right, hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. Check out my locals, and of course, check out PascalMerch.com. All right. That'd be greatly appreciated. We got some really great stuff over there. Anyway, guys, it is time to get going. I'll be talking to you guys very soon because the news keep on newsing. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.